I am here with Matt Gillespie, a worker here at KU, as well as an alumni and a worker who's just doing really great stuff in speech language pathology. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you.
So let's focus on Haskell a little bit and talk about Little Nations. Then let's kind of get into there. Like, I'd like to, I have a lot of friends who still use Little Nations, for their daycare and for their, gotta have a place for your kid kind of thing, and they. For a lot of them, it was their lifesaver. It was like their option. And I think that's great because Haskell has that service. What's your role in that? What do you do?
Well, this is another long story. It kind of comes full circle. So when I was in undergrad here, I went to school with a woman named Regina Grass.
Okay.
Usti is her name. She graduated in her undergrad from speech language hearing, as I did, and then I went off to Arizona for my master's degree. But when I came back, I came back for my PhD here. She was involved with writing the first grant for Little Nations. Oh, wow. She got interested in public health. And I think she got another degree from another university, maybe Oklahoma. I can't remember exactly where she went to school after KU, but she really became interested in public health and education and the influence between education and public health. And so she helped Haskell write this grant to start Little Nations. Right. And when it was built and got up and running, and I think it was 2005. She contacted me, and because she knew I was back at KU and was working with children and in speech language pathology, and she understood the relationship, obviously because of her undergraduate degree, the relationship between speech and language skills and literacy and education. And so she wanted to share that Little Nations was opening up, and then we got to talking. I was like, wow, it'd be really fun to do some play groups with the kids to promote speech and language development and early literacy skills. So back in 2005, I started going out there with some of my grad students to do these language and literacy play groups, and it was so fun, and we've been out there ever since, once a week, and now we're twice a week with the grant. So fast forward, from 2005 when we started that to about 6 years ago, I wanted to write a grant to educate, to support graduate students in speech language pathology who wanted to go and work with Native American communities. And I really wanted to recruit Native American graduate students. Right. And so I wrote this grant. Didn't get funded the first time, so I got the feedback and rewrote it. Right. And then it got funded. And so for the last 5 years, I've been training and educating and supporting students who are interested in working with Native American communities, and part of their work on the grant is to support classrooms and children, preschool classrooms and children, and also to connect one-on-one with some families who have children who have whose children have speech language disorder. Right. And so we're working with the schools, with the teachers, and with the kids and their families to promote speech, language, and I have an interest in early literacy too, to promote early literacy to get these kids ready for kindergarten. Right. And so part of that grant has allowed us to extend our work at Little Nations. So now we're there 2 days a week. Jeez. And then we also go to Potawatomi. Right. So they have an early childhood center at Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation, and we've had a relationship with their preschool for the last 5 years and go out there. Since it's so far away, we can only really go out there once a week.
Sure.
So we go out there once a week for several hours in the afternoon on Tuesday afternoons, and work with 2 different classrooms there and promote speech language, and really, again, the focus is on early literacy and getting kids ready to go to kindergarten and be successful in kindergarten in terms of literacy. I'm biased, but I think literacy is a place where we can have a really powerful influence on our children.
I know that influenced my journey as a scholar, and kind of who I was, with how much I would just sponge, and I think a lot of people are like that. Probably a lot of the kids you work with too are probably like that.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. So speech language pathologists typically work with children who are experiencing a delay or a
Right.
disorder, or and who aren't maybe showing the speech and language skills that we would expect for their particular age, and that's when speech language pathologists can become involved and to provide speech language intervention to promote those skills. But I think our role also is in prevention and promoting speech and language skills to all children. And obviously all kids can benefit from speech and language skills, and then how those then influence early literacy and the ability to learn to read and write.
Right. Man, that is some great work, Matt.
Thank you.
I'm real impressed with that. And I think there are a lot of things to kind of pull out of that, but something I'd like to stress maybe on the academic side of things, and especially for our native students that might be listening, is kind of the importance of grant writing and being able to have that as a skill.
Yeah.
And it seems it's been pretty substantial in your journey as a worker and as a scholar. Just real quick, maybe what kind of advice would you give for people who are looking to learn to grant write?
Yeah, get a good mentor.
Right.
I had a great mentor, Jane Wegner, who's the director of our clinic down in Hayworth Hall, the Schiefelbusch Speech Language Hearing Clinic. Right. We have an on-campus clinic here that provides speech language and audiology services. Jane had written several grants focused on training master's level students in particular areas. She has a different area of expertise and interest than I do. I mean, they overlap, but
Sure.
And so she encouraged me to write a grant, and then she mentored me along the way. She gave me a lot of advice. She gave me direction where to go. And so then she kind of left it up to me, and she helped me brainstorm and kind of talk to me about which direction I could go. And she knew the funding source pretty well, so she knew what they were looking for. So she gave me some guidance there, and then I kind of off and running. And then I turned it in, and I didn't get funded the first time around. I got feedback, and I applied that feedback to the second version, and it got accepted. So I guess the first thing is getting a mentor that understands your area of interest, understands the funding sources that are out there, that maybe have even obtained grants from those funding sources, that can kind of give you some behind the scenes tips. They kind of know what the grant reviewers are looking for, and so that was really, really helpful. And then to not give up is the other thing too. Is rarely do grants get funded the first time unless you're just an exceptional writer and really have everything put together perfectly. So it's to really tune into that feedback from reviewers, not to get discouraged, and to keep trying and keep molding that idea and that project until it does get funded.
I wanted to stress that because I feel like a lot of Native American projects that I kind of see are there aren't pathways to them already. There aren't a lot of pathways built to those projects that people want to do because Indian country often has such unique situations. So I think it's important to stress that for graduate students who may not want to limit themselves or think that they can't do their work because there's not money available. And I think it's important for that.
Yeah, I think if you're if you can tie it back to the purpose and mission of the grant,
Right.
And sometimes you have to be a little bit creative in how you do that, and sometimes it makes
Right.
you think in a different way, which can be really a good thing. You know,
Exactly.
you might have kind of one thing in mind, but then you look at the source of the grant and what they're really looking for, and it might enlighten you to blend your interest with what their mission is, and then maybe something even greater comes out of it because of the two perspectives that are coming together. So.
Exactly, and I think that's another thing that kind of speaks to us as Indigenous peoples is that collaborative nature. The way I've kind of seen indigeneity here at KU has been a lot of working together is something that all the Indigenous groups seem to try to strive for. Maybe things don't come together as often as we'd like them to. That's just kind of the nature of campus. But what I'm kind of getting at is I see a long list of people on like the affiliate faculty list, and I'm always like, man, these people are coming from such a variety of fields. You know, like I take Chris for example. The stuff she's doing is great. To have tied in with Indigenous studies. So I'd kind of like to talk about that. Maybe what has your work with Indigenous studies been, if there's been much to speak about?
Yeah, I got asked a few years ago to be on the affiliate faculty because of some of the work that I was doing, and I was involved with the Native Faculty and Staff Council here on campus as well. And so that's kind of how all that came together. And I've taught some classes in our department and then co-listed them.
Okay.
And so we've had some Indigenous Studies students take my summer class that I teach on. It's called Culturally Responsive Early Literacy Instruction, but it's a focus on American Indian, Alaska Native communities, and to think about the history of education in Native communities and how we can provide culturally responsive educational opportunities